around with all of the software, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go back to old school here for a minute or two until I can figure it out. So good evening. Welcome. I'm right on my start time of 6:30. Actually, I believe it was 6 o'clock, but thank you for bearing with me. We are live now and broadcasting. Again, thank you so much for sticking through. The music was from Eric Hughes and the Eric Hughes Band. They will be playing at the Rail Garden the 7th or the 8th of this September. Before they start to get ready, I believe in November, they're going overseas to the Netherlands and those things. But Meet Me in Memphis is written by Eric Hughes, and it's performed by the Eric Hughes Band. You can also see them at Rum Boogie Bar down on Beale Street. So with that being said, I believe I covered the sponsors. Today is Suicide Prevention Network. Awareness Month. September is. We went and dealt with National Overdose Day yesterday, and now we're moving right into suicide prevention. One of the things that I encourage people is to wear different things to show your personality. They're great conversation pieces. As you can tell, even though I'm backwards, I have my suicide prevention lifeline tag. You can text in Tennessee 741-741. It doesn't matter if you're in Missouri. It doesn't matter if you're in Alaska. It doesn't matter. And then, of course, the suicide prevention line is also on there. And if anybody needs these key tags, let me know. I will see to it that you get them. But that is that information. And they have a 1-800 number that you can speak with counselors anonymously and seek out that help that might be. And that number is 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. So that's in the month of September, and you know, we have to be really cautious because this is a time of year, if you study history, that a lot of suicide and things like that come about. So anyway, moving on. So I have my normal regular TV show or radio show, which is called Making a Difference in the Lives of Others. And that comes in all different forms, from delivering fans to seniors to legislation, working with legislators. I'm blessed to get to go Tuesday to Nashville and be a part of the signing of some adverse childhood legislation, not the one that we've been currently working on. This is another one sponsored by Senator Katrina Robinson, and she's invited me to go to the old Supreme Court chambers in the Capitol. It's something I've never done. Will be fantastic. Of course, the Senate will greet everyone and congratulate everyone on this legislation. My only hope is, since I got a little pull with the governor and my senator, that I get the pin that the legislation was signed with, because Miss Katrina Robinson has already had some legislation passed, so I'm sure she's been got a couple of those. But you never know. It never hurts to throw that shout out. So a lot going on. Next month I'm going to Raleigh for the National Smarts for Training to become a state trainer on advocacy here, sponsored by NAMI, and that would be NAMI National and NAMI Tennessee. So that being said, let's get into what we're here to talk about today. My guest on Making a Difference this week was supposed to be Keedron Franklin. Keedron Franklin is a community organizer and an activist, and he's just bowed up this week. Been a hectic week. The week following, I had asked to have Reverend Dr. Earl J. Fisher to be here. And he also, with the Tammy Sawyer campaign and the things going on, trying to make sure to get the voting registration out, people out, registered to vote is busy. Both of those have confirmed dates in September for that show, Making a Difference in the Lives of Others. Tammy Sawyer is the next one, and trying to catch her right before, towards the end of September, to devote an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. Since no one else will debate her, we'll get out and let her have her speech. Just on a side note, Memphis Magazine, shame on you. I think we all should burn every copy. Any advertiser that advertises that, you're just as much of a scumbag as they are. I have never seen someone portrayed, even political cartoons, so poorly as Miss Sawyer was treated. I don't care if you think that, she's the one to vote for, or, you're pissed off because she had something to do with the statues, but she has been a great county commissioner and a great person, and it was just plain right despicable. If you have not seen it, it's floating around, and basically they made Tammy Sawyer look like an orangutan in comparison to Willie Herndon and Jim Strickland, and that's the best way I can take it. They made her look like something from another planet, and they did it on purpose, and it was horrific. So anyway, let's get into the show. Most of you know me. I am a mental health advocate. I'm a person with lived experience. I have diagnosed with 7 disorders, from bipolar 1 disorder, panic disorder, agoraphobia, generalized anxiety disorder, social phobia, specific phobia, especially bridges, heights. We can go on and on. I think I said panic disorder, and there's a couple other in there that I forget sometimes. But anyway, it wasn't until I'm 48 years old, it wasn't until my early to mid 40s that I began to actually deal with this as a serious problem. And how all of this is going to lead, if you'll stick with me from story to testimony, I'm going to give it to you. So let's talk a little bit about my background, from where I came from. Because remember, it's not what's wrong with me. It's simply what happened to me. So my background starts when I was born in 1971, January 1st, 1971, one of the first babies born of that year. Approximately months to the date, July 1st, 1971, a door fell on my head, a large wood door, struck me in the head, and squished my skull. That's a good way to say it. I had a depressed skull fracture. I received hundreds of stitches. They did surgery. They put a mesh material plate in there to reform my skull. They said that the only reason why that I lived is because I was a baby and my head was very soft. Had I been older, my head would have been hard and it would have caused greater brain damage. So with that being said, I was told I would have epileptic seizures my entire life. Well, I always thought that epileptic seizures meant, you fall on the ground, you're swallowing your tongue, and they didn't say epileptic seizures, they said seizures. Key point that I need you to remember as we go through this 2-3 part series, that they said that I would have seizures, and I interpreted it as epileptic type seizures. I am a Tennessee State peer recovery specialist, which means I come from lived experience. In my case, it's dual diagnosis. I come from the mental health side of it, and I also come from the substance abuse side of it. They typically go hand in hand. It's rare that you will find someone that has a mental health disorder that does not have some sort of addiction. It doesn't have to be drugs or alcohol. It can be gambling, shopping, promiscuous sex, risky behavior, lots of those other things. But that is dual diagnosis or co-occurring disorder. I wear Gabe Howard's pin. I'm still getting used to the backwardness. I'm going to figure that out. That represents bipolar disorder. And basically, what this pin means is sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad. And that's basic definition of bipolar without getting into bipolar 1 and bipolar 2 and hypomania and all the different types. Bipolar 1 disorder is my primary diagnosis. I spend the majority of my time on the manic side, whereas I rarely have the depression side, but when I do crash after many, many months, I crash hard. And you can imagine how this is as an employee. I mean, I've been an engineer, I've been a telephone man, I've been many, many quality control managers. I've had many, many successful jobs, six-figure income jobs at that. But it doesn't work too well when you hire on, look at this successful employee, he's great, we can't wait to our future with him, and you work for a week or two, and then you don't show up for a week or two. Hey, Carrie. Hey, Josh. I'm going to go ahead and go through this real quick. Hey, Danny. Hey, Kevin M. Kevin F. Marvin, how are you doing? Pastor James Williams, thank you, sir. Kelly Hendricks, Michael Owen, Amy Trojan, Chris Pettit, how are you, my friend? Dusty Womack, David DeGettis, the one and only Miss Sekrengoss, Vicky Lynn Sekrengoss. My cousin from somewhere, we just don't know how, because if you have a name like Sekrengoss, I promise you, that's as good as a 100% bet that we're related somehow. And there's a few more up there. Walter Ingram, it looks like, and so on and so forth. So thank you very much for joining me. Jane Crowder, you're just in time. We're getting into it now. So the last thing that I wear around me is my NAMI pin. I am a huge supporter of the National Alliance of Mental Illness. I advocate for them. I volunteer for them. I live and breathe the National Alliance on Mental Illness. I am affiliated. I do primarily, like I said, advocacy and volunteering out in the community, making a difference here in Memphis, Tennessee. I originally came from NAMI St. Tammany, which is in Louisiana, and I am a member of NAMI St. Tammany, NAMI Jackson in Memphis, NAMI Memphis, NAMI Tennessee, and NAMI National. And that kind of gives you an overview of it. We have our state convention coming up soon. Jeff's going to kill me on that, but I believe it's the 27th and 28th. If not, it's the 26th and the 27th, and it's at the Opryland Hotel, and there'll be some great things happening there. As I did mention, I'll be going to Raleigh, representing the state of Tennessee in the national training to be a Smarts for Advocacy trainer here. I've begun to work with the school districts here to bring the NAMI Ending the Silence program, because one of the large things that we have going right now is adverse childhood experiences and ACEs. We're working with a collective of 50 plus organizations to draft legislation for State Representative Mark White, who is the education chair of the House of Representatives, and Brian Kelsey, who is the education chair, first chair of the Education Committee for the Senate. We also have a little in with Senator Katrina Robinson on that committee. And basically what this would do would require the screening for the children when they're young. And if you're not familiar with adverse childhood experiences, it's a 10-question, 2-minute test. And basically, were you neglected? Were you abused? Did you see domestic violence? Were there drugs around? Were you emotionally left out? Were you molested? Was a parent incarcerated? Was there divorce in your home? These type of questions, 10 of those. I personally scored 7 out of 10 when I took it. And I was kind of shocked because that's a lot. And I realized at that point it's not what's wrong with me, it's what happened to me. It's no surprise that I've had such a tough life going through that. Hey, Barry. And so basically, after a stint of time, I was able to get my mother to take the ACEs test. And she scored a 10 out of 10. And at that moment, I realized there was a cycle, and that we had to work together with wraparound services to break this cycle. It passes on from generation to generation. If I was traumatized as a child, you can bet you that I traumatized my wives and my children. Hurt people hurt people. That's just fact. neglected, not having enough food, those type of things. And so what the idea is to try to address it at home, which is great. Okay, so you address this issue, but then you send them right back into the environment. And so what we're trying to do is work with faith-based initiatives, working with the school districts, working with churches, working with CPRSs and volunteers, and ACE Awareness and Refuge Memphis, and we can just keep going on and on and on with the people. The data is there. The University of Tennessee and the University of Memphis have already spent the money on the research. The money is already there for this legislation. So I'm confident that this legislation will pass to no worries whatsoever. But I am excited that after a couple years with the legislators, I get to be Silly Ray with both earrings in both ears, and they know that I'm not full of shit, that I don't talk out of my ass. I treat people with respect. The most important people when you're advocating is that first person you encounter, the gatekeeper. They will make or break you. I would say be nicer to them than you are to the senator or the representative. Last time I went to Behavioral Day on the Hill, I saw 19 senators and representatives from Shelby County. Hey, Stephen. Hey, Cindy. And I was running from floor 6, 7, 8. I was running all around, 15 minutes in and out. But do you know, because I was the only one from Shelby County, but do you know that every one of them made time to see me? I'm just Ray from Picayune, Mississippi. That's where I come from. Yeah, I've traveled the world, and I don't talk like that, but I could talk like that. I came to Memphis, Tennessee because my mother was here, and I wanted to go back to school to study community advocacy and social policy. And so that's how I got here. So let's get into power and testimony. That's a good first round for you on a 3-4 part series. So here's the difference. We all have a story, all right? A story in simplicity. Now, all you English majors and all that, take it easy on me. But basically, when it comes to a story, what you're dealing with is an account of an imaginary or real circumstance or event that is being told. It's an account of past events in someone's life or in the evolution of something. All right, that's the basic. It's an account of incidents or events. It's a statement regarding the facts pertinent to a situation in question. All right, that's what a story is. All right. Let me tell you what a testimony is. A testimony is a formal written or spoken statement, especially about things that God has done for you. It's based on evidence of proof and provided by evidence or appearance of something. Another good way of getting at it is that a testimony is a form of written, spoken word with proof of what God or whatever circumstance has done for you. Now, why is this important, Ray? I know that's immediately what you're asking is okay, where are we going here with this, Ray? I want to tell you something as someone who speaks with advocacy, mental health primarily advocacy. Hey, Lester, here is the issue. We all, okay, me, you, all these people watching, we all have a story. Okay? We all have one. You're not any different than, and if someone tells you they don't have a story, then they're a walking robot, because we all have a story of some sort. Okay? By me listening to your story, is this helping me grow? Is it helping you grow? Are we just reliving what's already happened to you back here in the story? Like reading a book. Okay, yeah, I think we know how this ends, but we're going to go ahead and read through this story. And if it's that type of story and something that's negative, are we going to feel any better after the story? Now, let me tell you what a testimony does. A testimony is something that you can build off. A testimony is full of life. Because now I'm telling you that story was where I was, but here's my testimony of God or resources or medical professional or medication or therapy or whatever it may have been. I'm telling you the evident proof that worked for me, that got me from telling my story. Well, I got all these mental illnesses and I don't know what I'm capable of doing and I'm depressed to getting up and saying, wait, I've got a testimony. I've done it before. I've seen other people do it before, and I can get up from where I'm at. And that's the power in a testimony. A testimony is inspiring to others. A testimony is inspiring to yourself. A testimony will live on and on and on. A story, they're a dime a dozen. People want to hear about, oh, you have bipolar 1 disorder? How did you reach the level that you're at now? It may not work for me, but I would like to know how you got to where you are today, where you're open, you're not ashamed, and you advocate and you fight for it. Okay? I know where I was, if we want to talk religion, when God rescued me. I was at the bottom of a gallon of whiskey every day. Every day, you know, that big one that's got that handle that you got to carry. I could drink one of those straight up every day and live and live and live. Smoke 2-3 packs of cigarettes, wives leaving me like crazy, children leaving me like crazy, losing jobs like crazy. I refused to deal with any type of mental health issue. I had tried. I didn't like the medicine. They killed my libido. Well, with 7 children, I think that probably would have been a good thing looking back, having been married 5 times. But neither here or there. I'm just trying to explain that when God and a higher power found me, I had a story. Today, I have a great portion of a testimony. And that is important to understand. You know, I think Ricky Floyd said it, Pastor Apostle Ricky Floyd said it last week on the show. He said, man, you're the Geraldo. You do all this research. He said, I've been interviewed all over this country on all kinds of television stations, and I've never had anyone ask me the questions to the degree that you have. Charlie Caswell told me the same. Pastor Charlie Caswell, the CEO of the Legacy of Legends. You got to remember, I'm from out of town. I'm from Louisiana, down there the Gulf Coast, and I'm knee-deep in Fraser. And you know why I'm knee-deep in Fraser? Because when I moved to Memphis, they told me one thing. Here's what you need to know, because I live in Germantown out in the suburbs. Not based on my merits, I'm based on my mother's merits. But, hey, Bubba, what they told me was there's one thing you need to know living in Memphis. Do not go to Fraser. That's exactly what they told me. Exactly what they told me. So me being the mentally ill person that I did was I went to Fraser and got to know people there and got to see the transitions. Hey, Robbie, I got to see the transitions that they're making. Do you know that there are hundreds of millions of dollars being put into Fraser today because people have been working for 6 or 7 years? Amazon is this close to coming into Fraser. You know how much that's going to be? There's hundreds of millions here, 17 millions here, 18 million here. I mean, I'm dumbfounded about the money that's being invested in the redevelopment of this community. And if you recall, if you remember when you're coming into Memphis or when you're leaving out of Memphis, the last thing that you see is Fraser, right? Besides the pyramid. That's the last thing you see. And I'm telling you, you can mark my words, by 2025, you won't even recognize that place. The schools are committed, the community is committed, and everything is starting to come together. That place, I'm just in all of it, and I do everything I can to be a part of it in any way that they'll have me. And at first, I'm sure it's like, who's this crazy white boy over here? He ain't got no sense. His mama didn't teach him nothing. Let me tell you something, and I'll tell you quick. I deliver food as a side thing to Uber Eats, DoorDash, to earn some extra money in college. You know who treats me the best? Yep. You know who treats me the worst? Yep. Guess what? When I went delivering fans for seniors, if I had ate at every place that they tried to feed me, I wouldn't be walking. I'd be like when Eddie Murphy went all that. When I went over here, all they did was fuss at me because I accidentally stepped on the corner of their lawn. That's the difference. And don't forget that. Please, don't forget that. You know, one of the things that, and I'm going through because I got a ton of notes, was the point that I wanted to share with you, is to conquer a challenge. There are many things that you have to invest into your heart. You got to understand that God promised you power, love, and a safe and clear thinking mind. Hey, how's it going, Jeff? And that is a promise that has been delivered to you already. Knowing that anytime you conquer a challenge, for me, now keep in mind that everything that I say is me, not the CPRS people, which I forgot to tell you that I have an opportunity to become a CPRS trainer of the state of Tennessee. So lots of good things that God is blessing me with, and doing it as Ray. I've not changed my style. People shake their heads at me lots of times, but I'm doing it as Ray. So let's get to what I was saying, that to conquer any challenge, I believe that there are 4 things. Now, this is my opinion. You have to remember your testimony. You have to remember the written, spoken, completed actions and words of what happened to you and how you came about being where you are today. That's where the power lies, not wallowing in your story, in your testimony. Number 2, the most important thing, if you've ever met me, I got 2 earrings in this ear and 2 earrings in this ear, and I'm almost 49 years old. I got a mouth that gets me in trouble a lot of times, but it also does a lot of good. Be yourself. Number 3, why fight a battle alone? Hey, Sybil, why fight a battle alone? I mean, that just makes no sense to me. Why? When you have the ability to invite God or a higher power to that fight with you, I mean, come on. I mean, I know Mike Tyson and those guys are big, but I'm bringing the big man in on this, man. I got an obstacle in my way, and I feel like giving up. I'm afraid. I'm going to invite the Lord or the big man or whoever it may be, whatever higher power that may be to you, into this fight with me. I'm not going in by myself. And number 4, and my gosh, please hear this one. I don't know how to do this one. I get in trouble all the time. I say I get in trouble. I get in trouble. Hey, Robin, don't delay. Don't delay. Don't wait for somebody else is going to do it, or we'll get around to it over here. Don't rock the boat, baby. Don't tip the boat over. If you don't throw it out there, how is it going to get addressed? Now, be respectful. When leaders and people who are in charge of those things tell you this isn't the right time to deal with that, we appreciate you bringing it up. When we've got some things that are less pressing than what we got going on right now, we'll talk about this. But don't delay. If you delay, it never gets brought up. It never gets brought up. So your story is your story. Your story is going to have us all with Kleenex sitting around, which is important to get it out. Don't confuse that. It's important to get it out. But where the power of recovery lies is in your testimony. How you came over it. Here's what happened, and here's what I did to overcome it. Billy Joe, how you doing, darling? Going through my 8 pages of notes because I can't be in here all night. Don't let fear kill you, destroy you. Fear does not come from God. Okay, I mean, or a higher power. I assume that everyone knows that fear is an emotion created by another spiritual source. It is not something that the higher power creates. Step out in faith. That's a big one. You don't have to know all the answers. Have an idea, have a vision, and step out on faith. And I assume that everyone knows the definition of faith. But as we go into Suicide Prevention Month, I think that it's very important that we don't miss those opportunities. You know how we all casually say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they say, "Oh, I'm doing fine." But are they really doing fine? What does it cost to take one more step? It doesn't. I mean, I'm not saying do like Ray and go around and hug everybody and tell everybody much love to you and, all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying do that. But I'm saying say something kind like, I hope you're having a fantastic day. Who cares if you're weird? Who cares? If it saves one life, just one life, all your weirdness was for a cause. When you're at the grocery lane, they got their name right there. Hey, Audrey, how you doing today? I promise you, they're always going to look up to see if they know you. Just smile. That's it. Something very kind. Doesn't cost anything. It's free. We use Facebook. Over there, they got all the happy birthdays. With 8,000 friends between all my pages, I don't know all these people. But what does it cost me to say happy birthday to each one of them on their birthday? Absolutely nothing. How do I know that anyone else is saying happy birthday to them? It costs me nothing. It's free. Find free, kind ways to be loving and compassionate. It's not difficult. All right. Moving along. Prophecy and propheticness, two different things. A prophet is a completely deep spiritual thing. Prophetic words are when I say that, Jeff, hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy? When I say, Jeff Fladen, I see that in 2 years that you're going to be working for National Geographic and you're going to be out traveling the world capturing amazing photographs for their magazine. That's been put on my spirit. All right? That's a prophetic statement. That's not a prophet. Completely two different things. And I hear a lot of people get that confused. When you say prophecy, they think that you're claiming that you're a prophet. And I'm saying I've had a vision put on my brain and my heart and my soul to tell you that I see a vision that you don't see yet. Now you see it because I took the time to tell you. Proverbs is definitely a place if you want to have a daily dose of the Bible. That would be a great place. Fear, shame, what they said, breaking lies, spirits of fear. You got to stand. I mean, come on now. Let's talk about this for a moment. Hey, Charlie, as a co-occurring person who lives with 7 mental health disabilities, drug addiction, alcoholism, I don't know what you call it, sexual addiction, gambling addiction. I can go on and on and on and on and on. Now, a lot of it was related to my mania. For 42 years, I got absolutely no help. Now, I had a brain injury, a traumatic brain injury. I had 7 out of 10 adverse childhood experiences. I left home at 15. I had a 15-year-old mother. Come on. I never knew what a father figure was. Never. Never in my life. So then I started getting married and having babies. Well, if you don't know how to be a husband, all I saw was domestic violence. So that was what I got. Dinner should have been on the table by now. You know, kids, get in the room. I'm trying to relax. You know, drugs, alcohol. You know, seeing that stuff. Well, I worked my full day. I paid my dues. Give me a beer. I don't care if y'all want to go for a walk or do something. I want to have beer. You know, these type of things. This was the behavior that I learned. It wasn't what's wrong with me. It's what happened to me. Again, I'm so thrilled on Tuesday to go sit in the old Supreme Court chambers in the Capitol as Bill Lee signs this first step in adverse childhood experiences legislation. The photos are great, and all the Senate stuff is going to be great. Y'all pray that I can get the pin, because I know Senator Katrina Robinson has already gotten one before. But that would be a great memento, because you're talking about a guy with a broken car that takes a couple $100 to fix. It can't fix it. Just uses his personality, his charisma, whatever that may be, his likability, the part that pisses people off, and he uses it and somehow manages to do it. I've managed to break down those walls and be accepted. I'm not the traditional lobbyist. I'm just not. I'm just Ray Seckerngust. And I used to hate getting that name, and I'm rambling here, but I used to hate it. Now I really love it, because I realized that when you hear that name, Ray Seckerngust, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, I know who that dude is. Oh yeah, you talking about that dude out of Memphis? Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about the one with Nami, Tennessee? Oh yeah. Yeah, y'all get behind. Speaking of which, we all are under the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services, and that doesn't mean, hey, fool ya. It doesn't mean just NAMI. It doesn't mean just certified peer recovery specialist. It doesn't mean just faith-based initiatives. It covers Tennessee Mental Health and Consumers Association. It covers Tennessee Suicide Prevention Network, and we can go on and on and on. There are a ton. My point is I want you to get a hold of Scott Ridgway, Tasha Gurley in the West. They've got some in the middle and in the East. And I'm not sure if Scott was on here or not, but I will see to it that I attach that to this feed. Hey, Michelle, or I'm sorry, Marielle. But I want everyone, no matter where you go. I mean, you know this. You got to stand for your causes. You got to stand for hope. You gotta, if it's Suicide Prevention Month, you gotta do that. If you're proud of NAMI, you got to do that. If you like Gabe Howard and you're bipolar, I'm on the wrong side, and you live with bipolar disorder as he does. Speaking of which, he'll be at the convention. He won't be a keynote speaker, but he's going to lead a great hour-and-a-half breakout section about mental health is an a-hole. Great book. If you don't have it, check it out, GabeHoward.com. He was a keynote speaker last year, and he does a lot with NAMI and NAMI Walks. And then, of course, you've got to have your CPRS, as I was saying. You've got to have your gear so that, like when you're going to the grocery store and you see somebody wearing an Alabama shirt, okay, if somebody says Roll Tide to me, like right away, I'm ready to go Fred G. Sanford on them. right? Because I'm LSU Tiger fan, number one. I'm taking to Tennessee just because I'm here in Tennessee and the Memphis Tigers. I'm taking to those. And I'm taking to the Tennessee Titans, even though I'm a New Orleans Saints fan. I figure I got a bridge. I got to compromise. I got to compromise. They're not holding against me from being from Louisiana, even though our seafood and all that is far better than here. But you can't find no decent barbecue down in Louisiana, and I'm sorry. You just can't. Memphis has got that wrapped up. They both are very similar cities and both great cities. Anyway, where I want to go with the closing of this is I want to talk about pushing through fears. I told you that I was afraid of heights. I'm afraid of bridges, especially. 2 weeks ago, I got this bright idea that I was going to Big River Crossing. Hey, Bryant, I wasn't scared, wasn't fearful. I didn't have panic. I thought, okay, I'm just trying to be cool. Wait till I get out there. And I was determined to push through. And I was talking to myself. I'm sure people realize that, this dude is really not all connected there. He's got some chemical imbalances. But I was talking to myself, and I was like, y'all are going to laugh, but I do it in a New York accent when I'm trying to conquer fear. I'm like, what? What, you going to be a wussy here? What, we drove all the way, might as well just drink the gas. What you going to do? You ain't even going to walk across this bridge? You come all this way. It's right here, all right? It's right here. And I kind of chuckled, and I said, man, this thing, look at it. You couldn't jump off of this if you wanted to, because that's always been one of my fears. What if I get up in heights and then have that vertigo or panic, and like Donny Hathaway did, if you remember him from the 70s. And, it was beautiful. It was magnificent. And then I got to put 1 foot in Tennessee and 1 foot in Arkansas, and I'm in the middle of the Mississippi River. And it was just fantastic. And so when I came out of there, I rented a bike and I rode that down to Beale Street Station, and I went down to Beale Street. And I live in Germantown. I don't spend time in downtown Memphis. And then I was really scared. I was going to rent one of these birds. Now, again, I'm almost 49 years old, and I was terrified I'm going to kill myself. These things are cool as can be. They even got governors on them. When you go into Tom Lee Park, you can only go like 10 miles an hour. They won't let you go any faster because they're pedestrians. They are fantastic. We have so many amazing things to do, and I'm not sure why I have spent so many years scared. I want to tell you about medication management briefly. I believe in medication management. I believe that you have to be prepared for finding things that will work for you. My medication is not necessarily what's going to work for you. You're going to have to go through the trials and tribulations to find what works for you. And it gets better. In about a year or two, you're going to become immune or that type of thing, and they may have to change it up and do some different stuff. All right? But would you rather have a sound mind, sleep properly, eat properly, and be able to have healthy relationships with other people? You do. You figure it out. The medication management is key. Therapy, essential. CBT therapy, essential. Spirituality, however you go about that. If you want to go sit on a blanket and all that, if you look behind me, I've got a Native American flute. I've got a ukulele. I got a Tibetan bowl. I got my guitar. I find different ways to go connect with the universe. I'm not nearly the photographer. Hey, Preston, I'm not nearly the photographer Jeff Layden is, so I admire his work so much. I sit in the hammock and I see the stuff, but I don't know anything about the equipment, and cell phones just don't take those kind of caliber of pictures. So as I'm winding down, I wanted to basically share to you this first part that gives you the first steps of how I got here. We're going to dig deeper in the following weeks about what happened in my older years. Hey, Peaches, what happened in my younger years, and then what happened into my teenage years, and then after I left home at 15. I do recommend Psalms 26, 28, and 73. I want to tell you about 4 more things, and I promise I'm going to close. I do sound like a preacher here. Katrina, how are you, darling? 4 more things, and I promise we're going to close. One of the things that I was studying was about bridges equal walls. Anytime there's a bridge to a circumstance, you can expect there's going to be a wall there. Opposition, contradiction, things in the way is what I'm trying to get at. You to bridge over, you're going to have to go through those walls, that opposition and that contradictions. Affirmations, all right? Those tie right in hand with afflictions. Right? To have positive affirmations, you had to have negative afflictions. All right? So to build bridges, to have affirmation, rewards. You got to have reproaches. I mean, come on. You can't have any rewards without the reproaches if you didn't have to work for it. I mean, come on. And the last one is comfort. We all like to find comfort, but you know where we find our most relaxing and enduring, hey Katrina, the most relaxing and enduring comfort is right after conflict. They go hand in hand. True comfort comes from conflict. It's the reward of standing up and not being afraid, standing up, that you receive the comfort. If anyone is offended by a prayer, I would ask that you check out now. I'm going to close this briefly in prayer. As we start Suicide Month, I ask you to make a prevention month. I ask you to make a difference in one way or another. If it's nothing more than posting things on social media, mentioning it to people that you're not alone. Wednesday, buddy check 22. We all know the number. Doesn't have to be military people. 22 people in the military service commit suicide every day. Every day. And that's not the numbers nationally, and that certainly doesn't include drug overdoses. So I would ask you, it doesn't have to be just Wednesday. Wednesday is just something that was set up, but it can be Tuesday, today, tomorrow. Check on people. How you doing? No, I don't need nothing. I hope you don't need nothing, because that wasn't really what I was calling for. I'm doing fine sitting in my PJs watching reruns of Friends. But I wanted to take the time to check on you. We hadn't chatted in a while. If you can do that part, you'll be doing your part for suicide prevention awareness. And I want you to remember, any resources in the state of Tennessee related to suicide prevention are nationwide. Now, that doesn't mean that someone here in Tennessee is going to, what it means is they are going to get them to an anonymous person, to a coach that's trained in their general area. Okay? And how hard is it to sit down with someone and help them make the call? I tried to complete suicide 4 times. I was unsuccessful. Thank God. I was unsuccessful. I got to sit with Kevin Hines a few weeks ago. Today is his birthday, by the way. If you know him on Facebook, share a happy birthday with him. Let him know we're glad he's here. because that brought a lot of awareness to suicide prevention, because he shouldn't have been alive. Taking pills, trying to jump out in front of 18-wheelers, these type of things, that's a little different. Hanging yourself, jumping from a bridge, the pipe from the tailpipe, those type of things are gone. These are the odds of dying or completing suicide are much higher. The other ones, not quite. Slitting your wrist, those type of things. So I can't say that I'm anywhere near caliber with any of those other people. What I do want to say is that I'm thankful that they are here, and I am thankful for the opportunities I have had to help, if nothing more, sit next to someone while they figured it out for themselves. They didn't need me to tell them what to do. Oh, you don't need to do that. That's and you're just wanting attention, or we should call your mom and dad. No. They needed me to just sit by them and listen. Last I checked, listening is free. So listen. So as I mentioned, I gave you an opportunity to step off the feed if a short prayer would bother you. So here we go. Closing out the evening. Thank you for listening to The Power of Testimony. Hopefully next week making a difference with Keaton Franklin, community organizer, activist, will be here with my 10 questions for him. And I will also do part 2 of the power in your testimony. So here we go. Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this first day of September, Father. We just am gracious that we bond together as a family to combat this challenge of suicide prevention awareness. Lord, somewhere the enemy has gotten in and convinced people that they're not worthy of your grace and your strength, Father. And if we tap into that grace and that strength, Lord, suicide isn't an option. You promised in your word, Lord, that you would not take us into anything that we were unprepared for. You also promised that you would not leave us in the dark. Father, I thank you for all these people that joined tonight. I hope that they share this video, that it might be able to touch someone else's life, Father. And I just look for a great September for everyone here. May I ask for extreme blessings to all of these people and their organizations who do some amazing things for some amazing people. Thank you, Lord, for letting me be a vessel to you and your work. And in Jesus' name, as always, we love you very much. You take care, guys. Much love. We'll talk to you soon.